and whatever works for you works for me. So I'm going to create a new file here for you. And though it's not very important, but definitely I'll put my name. So I didn't ask for the purpose from you because at that point of time I said, you know what, you're doing a midterm. You don't even know what I've asked till you complete it. You could always put the purpose at the end, but I didn't even ask that. So some students, the only marks I could give to some students was for this, name and date. That's it. They had nothing else in the code that was worth even marking. So there is something that's going on which basically you should pay attention to, especially students who are still struggling. Okay, so here is your question. This is what was given to you, right? So we'll look at what it was asked and then quickly start doing it. It says code an efficient Python program. I said efficient, but you know, while marking, I didn't even pay a lot of attention to it because there was hardly like, and again, I'll talk about efficiency when I do it so that you understand what is efficient, okay? The functionality of the program. Each execution run starts with an empty list. That was a hint. I didn't have to give it to you, but just so that you don't forget that every run starts with an empty list. Just as a hint, nothing else. So I tried to give you everything so that you didn't have to think a lot in those 3 hours. The user is prompted to input only negative real numbers. So only negative numbers are allowed. The user can input at any time, providing an input of greater than 0. These numbers are stored in a list, so we should know how to use a list. The user may not provide any input at all. The first time you ask, the user gives 0 and it stops. So empty list, then you shouldn't be doing anything. You can't print an empty list. So if it was an empty list, I just said an output message must be printed. The list is empty or there no numbers were provided, something that makes sense to the common user and nothing to be done. Else, I want you to print the numbers 1 per line, search for a number provided in the list for a user provided number. So user says, is 2 present in the list? Is 5 present in the list? So user is saying which number to be searched and output this number and its first occurrence. And there is a method. You didn't even have to do anything at all, right? So where does it occur and what is its first occurrence? Recall lists are 0 based, but position starts at 1. Remember, when it gives you an answer, it will say 0, 1, or 2, but positions are not 0, 1, and 2. You'll say, you'll just add 1 to the answer and say at position 1, at position 2, and so on. You can assume that the number is present. I didn't even ask for anything else. I didn't even say check if it is a floating point number, if it is positive or negative. I didn't even ask all this. Though, of course, if you're searching for a number, I mean, if it's a list of negative numbers, you should be searching for negative numbers, but that's okay. If you're searching for a positive number, it will say it's not present. But what did I say? You can assume that the number is present in the list because this method had a few things that says, oh, it will throw an error and so on. And I didn't want you to bother about it. Don't worry. I'll only look for something that is present. So again, simple. I didn't even ask you to double check anything. Delete the last number added to the list and print the new list in the notations, the square notations. So again, there is a method, pop. It deletes it. Deletes the last element. In case of search, there is a method called index. It searches for it. You didn't have to do anything at all. Just use those 2 methods. Right? That's all you had to do. Anyway, further, there were a few things. Additionally, comment your code, use of proper camel case naming conventions, interaction with the user using appropriate and clear prompt messages. Program execution continues until the user decides to quit. We had done this in class. We'll start with that. Complete and clear output messages. Use of a while loop. Definitely you will use it. Use of a for loop for printing. You will do it. Use at least one user defined function. Now, when I say one use, I didn't say for input or whatever. The easiest one would be for output. For printing would be the easiest one to use. Use it. If you want to use it for input, which most of you did because I did it in class, that's fine too. But you have to change it according to what I have asked. Okay. And one inbuilt list method and one. So inbuilt list method, len, you'll definitely use it. Append, you will definitely use it. Like those are the 2 methods. No use of break or continue statements because I found a lot of this in assignment 2, which could have easily been avoided. So I didn't need to see any break or continue statements in your code. It's not required. But I don't know, maybe because it was your second assignment, you were doing it. And so I kind of put it here. So that was what was required. Right? Just again, they were all hints. I didn't have to say anything about it. But I said, okay, they know they should use a for loop and a while loop and so on. Okay, here we go. So let's start. So the outer loop says till the user does not quit, decides to quit, you should quit. Now you could use a constant for that quit. No, it's not. We all know that constants in Python are useless, right? We've already figured that out. But if you wanted to say what was my, how do I end my program, you could define a end program constant, and the convention is constants are written all in uppercase, and if there are more than one words, you separate them by underscore. That's the convention for constants. And you can assign it a value of quit. Though I repeat, they're kind of useless. It was not required. You didn't have to do it. But again, as I'm saying, I'm giving you what can be done, what better can be done, right? Now, what is your loop? You take a variable. So that was the quit one. So the loop said, while the user doesn't want to quit, you should go on. So let's take a confirm. And to start, let's give it the value continue. I mean, you could call it yes, no, whatever. I just called it continue. So to quit, it will be quit. Otherwise, it will be continue. What is your loop? Your loop is while the value of my confirm is not equal to end program. I've already put end program in small quit. So the only thing that will be checked is small quit. Everything's small. Though there are 24 combinations of quit, if you start writing quit in all its combinations, there are 24, but I don't want to do that. We learned the lower function. Ian brought it out, I think. Oh, there's a lower, and I did it in class with you. But anyway, so while confirm is not equal to quit, you need to keep doing your work. That's your outer loop. Right? And somewhere in that outer loop, you will ask the user towards the end, right? Confirm. From the user, take your input. You can quit the program by typing quit. Any other input to continue executing. What are you saying? You're kind of asking the user, oh, here. So you will have to do it somewhere. So I'll kind of put it in 2 lines so that you can see what I did, and then I'll put it back. So I've said, take the input from the user. You can quit the program. You can quit by typing quit. I mean, you don't have to say the program or whatever. Any other input to continue running the program. So I've told the user, that's how you quit, right? So what do? I take it back from here. So proper message. These are messages. If you don't give me proper messages, I have no clue. That's a good practice. Just kind of do it. And then because I said it has to be small quit and strings cannot be changed in place, you take your confirm, convert it into lower, and save it back in confirm. So that irrespective of how the user enters quit, capital Q, small, like whatever, it is converted all into lowercase, because what are you comparing it with? All lowercase. If it was all uppercase, you would use upper, right? So you can say here, convert input to all lowercase. And what is this you're trying to do? In this one, you're trying to that's your main loop. That's your main loop. So one job done, right? One job is already done. I've done one job. I've said keep on asking from the user, keep on asking while the confirm is not quit, keep on doing it. One job is done. That's my one loop, right? What is my second one? Taking numbers from the user. So your second job is taking input. And what was your input? Real numbers less than 0. That was what you had to do. Now you could call a function and do it, but I've done this input functions many times with you. But most of you copied it, but didn't even change the 110 or 100. I haven't said there is a limit. All I've said is negative numbers are allowed. Right? So why should you say, oh, between 1 and 100 or between 1 and 1000? Somebody went between 1 and 99999. Like, just any negative number is okay, is what I've said, right? So I'm not going to write that method or a function, because I've done that before. But this is all you need. What do you need? You need another while loop. So let's take your number, right? Since you are working with float numbers, and give a proper message to the user. What would be a good message to the user? Please input a negative number. Doesn't matter. It could be float, it could be integer. It really doesn't matter. So you don't have to say anything. Please input a negative integer, and to stop any number greater than equal to 0. Now, yeah, to stop 0 or any number greater than 0. We could have said greater than equal to 0, but again, we try to avoid relational. We don't want to give anything that's tech. You know what I mean? So this is a common thing. Please input a negative number. Please input a negative number. To stop, enter 0 or any number greater than 0. Right? My job is done for this one. Let's go back and see. I've put my brackets. Yes, I have. Okay, so it's taken. Now, what's your loop? While this number is less than 0, I want to keep taking input, right? And I want to keep appending it to the list. So where is my list? Let's see. Let's create a list. So let's create an empty list. Let's call it whatever you like, numbers. And how do you create an empty list? That way. So numbers is ready now. So every time the program runs, you will start with an empty list. You could have cleared it. There was another option. Once you finish, before you confirm, when you ask the user, you can clear it. But in this one, I start with an empty list every time. So I'm okay, right? So you have to kind of take care that you start with an empty list every time. So that's your first job. Then you ask for a number while the number is not greater. And I didn't even ask you to do any error checking here, which we will do today. Now we'll start learning how to catch exceptions using the try except. What if I gave Anju? Of course, it will blow up. Your program will blow up. But I'm not even expecting that from you because I haven't taught it to you, which is okay. So a couple of you do it perfectly fine. But I'm not even asking that. So you don't even have to bother. You are assuming that Anju will always input float, will give numbers less than 0. And if she wants to stop, she'll give anything greater than 0. What do you want to do? You want to take your numbers list and append, which we did in class. That's a method, number to it. Oops, sorry. And ask the question again. Right? And ask the number again. Done. That's how you take input from the user. 3 lines. While the number is less than 0. So you read the first number because only then can you enter the loop. So yeah, if at the first go the user gives a 0, this loop will never be executed. So your list could be empty. Done. My job is done. I could have written a function, and I can if I wanted, but we've done it, and I'll do it for you afterwards if you like, but it's fine for me now. Okay, column 4 here. Now what's your job? So the list is ready now, right? So you add, you ask again, you add, you ask again, you add, you ask again. The user gives a 0 or anything greater than 0, it stops. Complete. Loop is complete. Now you check if the list is empty. Because I said it could be empty, right? So how do you check that? You have an if statement. So out of the while and column 4 and if. How do you check if the list is empty? You check if the length function, which we had done in class again, numbers, is equal to 0. You want to print a message for the user? No numbers were provided. The list is empty. Make sense? There, I already got 1 mark. I've already done half of my code. I've written an outer loop. I've taken input. I have already checked if the list is empty. Else. Now this is where you have to do the rest of the job. You want to print the list. You want to look for something. You want to pop the element. And again, it can be done in many ways. Now here is an easy way where I can use a function. I'm going to use a function called print list and pass my list to it. Now, do I need to pass the list to it? No, because numbers is a global list. But again, just for your information, students who are interested in when good programming practice says that don't work with global variables, because global means open to the world and anybody can change it. Write independent functions or methods and pass them parameters, let it do its job and let it return a value to you. And that's how it usually works. So I could have done it without numbers. I can use numbers in my function. This is just to show you that parameter passing is recommended, right? So what am I calling here? I'm basically calling or invoking or calling remember it was 1 per line. So let's define this function called print list. And it takes some numbers. We really don't care. We know that a list is coming to us. So let's define it here. So define your function. And I'll define more functions for you today, just for the heck of it. Now, it's not necessary that you call it numbers here. You can call it list numbers here. You can call it numbers of list here, whatever you like. Again, keep consistent. The naming convention is camel case. Camel case convention says the words have to be separated somehow, otherwise it would be so difficult to read. How do you separate them? You put the first letter of every word in capital, leaving the first word. That starts with small. The rest of the words are all capitalized. And there is a Pascal naming convention in which the N will also be capitalized. So every word is capitalized, right? So we are going to define a function. What does this function do? This function prints the list of numbers. Now, list is a very common English word also. So I'm using it. It's not necessary. Oh, it's the list. Why is she calling it list? List is a tech term. List is a normal list. We all, like normal user also knows what a list is. Maybe collection would be a little more difficult to understand, but everybody knows what a list is. So using the word list is not a big deal at all. So how do I print the list? So what did I do? I'm not even concerned who will call me and so on. I'm concerned that the function is called print list. I will get a list. That's what I'm assuming. If you don't give me a list, of course I'll blow up, right? So there is a design, there's a contract here. I'll do your job if you give me the right input, and I'll give you values back. But there is a contract. You can't assume, oh, I'm not giving it the right input and it will happen. Can you start your car without putting your key in or starting it? No, it won't move. So that's the contract. If you want to start your car, you have to start it. If you want to increase the speed, you have to use your accelerator. If you have to put a brake, you have to use your brake. So those are your contracts with the car. So is the contracts with functions. The function says, I want a list from you. If you give it to me, good. If you give me your name like Anju or a string, I won't work. I'll blow up. So you'll say, but then who takes care of this blowing up? The programmer takes care of this blowing up. We will learn how to take care of exceptions today because it is important. You can't live your whole life thinking, oh, the user will always give me the right input. You will always say the user is not going to give me the right input. Okay, so we'll learn how to handle those exceptions. Like you go to a mechanic if things don't work, same kind of stuff. Okay, so how do I print? No big deal. For loop, right? That's how you print. So let's give it a heading. And just to make it a little pretty, how long does it take? We'll put some stars here. We'll put some stars here. We already know that the list exists. Remember, I called this function if the list was not empty. I'll do another print just because it's easy to do it right away, because I can match the size. And what do I need inside it? As simple as this. For I in, and my input is called number list. What do you want to do? You want to print the value of I. 3/4 exam done. I have 2 more things to do.
Make sure you define print list.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. The word def is missing, and of course, it will come up with the syntax error. Thanks. Right? So that is my function. This is the easiest function you could have written. And all the requirement was there was a user-defined function. There it is. It is the simplest of function. Does it return anything? No, it does a job. It just prints a list. But that was an easy one to write, especially in an exam time where you don't have to think a lot, and that would work. You can put a return statement at the end. Remember, we've already talked about it. But basically, when the code finishes for the function, it automatically goes back from where it was called. And when you just say return, actually what is returned? The special type none is returned. You don't have to write it. You don't have to, but you can always say return none so that you have an idea, but you don't have to. What will it help you to remember? That I can return values from a function. Done? Job is done. Now let's look at the next question.
Right. For the print list, you have numbers list. And then
numbers list, okay.
You have
numbers, thank you.
Actually, that's number.
Numbers. Numbers, thank you. Good eyes, right? I mean, if you're paying attention, you can always, of course, I'm only typing and talking and I can make typos, and you can too.
It's easier when you're watching.
Yeah, it's easy when you're watching. Exactly, it's easy when you're watching, right? So, oops. I was saving it. No, I haven't. Let me save it before I lose it. So I'll put it somewhere I can find it, and then I'll put it on Blackboard for you. So this is the Wednesday section. Let's call it midterm. There, right? Now, the next question was, it says, where is it? I'm going to kind of copy it so that I have it, okay? And I'm going to show you something just because it can be done. So that was my first comment, and that's my second one. So 2 more jobs to do. I mean, you don't have to copy everything. I'm just copying it so that I know what has to be done. I mean, commenting is required, but commenting to that particular, so you can assume that the number is present. You don't have to do all that. But anyway, what I'm going to show you is something here. Just for the heck of it, just because it is unique to Python, right? Not all languages will allow this, but it is unique, and you may not find it unique, but I find it unique because I've done many programming languages. I'm going to call another function here, right? So I'm going to call a function, or invoke a function, or call a function that does the above. To do that, right? So search for a user provided number in the list and output this number and its first occurrence in the list. Recall zeros are base, but positions that assume that the number is present in the list. So you can kind of remove this. But I didn't even go into that oh, the number may not be present in the list and you will get an error. So let's call a number. So I'm going to call that function search number. And again, it's up to you. You may not, it's not a good habit, but you may not pass the numbers at all. You may not pass the list at all. Like, I wouldn't recommend it, but this is to show you since it is global, but it's not a good practice. So I'll kind of put not recommend. It's not a good practice. Why? Because every function should be complete in its own right. Right? For example, if you're using the library, the person who wrote the functions in the library, the guy had no clue as to what's in your mind. You know what I mean? So he said, or she said, I'm going to write a function. These are the inputs I want from you. Give me the list, give me the search number, give me this, and I'll do the job for you. And therefore, functions are usually written with parameters. That's the usual way of writing functions. Use of global variables is a big no-no in the world. It says you mind your own business. Don't you say mind your own business, right? So the function has its own business to do. It will do the business. You should know how to invoke the function. That's all your job is. But again, to show you that it can be done, there is nothing wrong in it. But I'm telling you, it's not a good programming practice. So what am I going to do in search number? You will see, and then you will see how I'll work with it. So search number is again an independent function that takes a number from the user and returns its first occurrence. And I'm assuming the number is present in the list. I even let you do that to make the job simple for you, because it's not that simple. I mean, errors can occur. But I didn't even say, I said, just do it. That takes, I hate indentation now. You know what I mean? Like, because it doesn't work so well, especially because I'm doing it bigger. The number is present in the list. I'll show you why these things will change. Why did I give you this thing saying, oh, it is present? Okay, so let's define a function. We called it search number, if I'm not mistaken. And I didn't take any parameters from the user. That means I'll use the numbers list, which is, again, just showing you different options. Okay, so your first job is to ask a number from the user that he or she wants to search for. Okay, so let's take a local number variable. Has nothing to do with the global number. It's a local number variable. You can call it search number. If you're, but the search number is also kind of the name of the method of the function. So I'll keep away. Let's take an input. The input is a float. And what do you want to say? Please enter the number you want to look up in the list. You could say negative number, but I mean, your list is a negative number. You could say a negative number. Please enter the negative number you want to look up in the list, right? And again, I'm assuming that it will be present in the list. I'll show you. If I don't, then errors come up, and I wasn't expecting you to take care of those errors. So I said, assume it will be in the list. Okay, so we take that number in the list. So now what is your job? Your job is that you want to search for it. Now you'll say, oh, do I write my own code? What do I do? Documentation was allowed. You were allowed to use documentation. I also gave you my notes, because in the notes, in that chapter 4, I kind of, where are you? There was a list of print methods. So you didn't even have to kind of think of it. You could go to these methods and see which one worked for you. I gave you these methods so that, and I don't know even if you looked at the summaries I posted before the exam, but that's fine. Append will not work, extend will not work, insert will not work, remove doesn't make sense, pop is not making sense, clear doesn't work. Index makes sense. It says index returns the index of the first matched item. Count doesn't make sense, sort, reverse we did doesn't make sense, copy is not making sense. So the index is the only method that is making sense. So there is a method. Now, you were not allowed to go anywhere else but the local documentation, or of course you could have done it on website, which I had given you, but I'll open up mine, which I did in class also. I've used this, oh, wrong one. Right? And we had kind of said we'll look for list methods. So this was done in class 2. But anyway, you had enough time to kind of, I told you will be allowed to use the, so here it is. Here is the index method. The index method says return 0 based index. So it returns you 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, right? In the list of the first item whose value is X. The rest are optional. The start is optional. The end is optional. You can search in a part of the list also. Nothing, no complications from you. Raises a value error if there is no such item. So what is this value error? If you try to look for something and it is not present, it will return you a value error. And I'll show you that it happens. But I said assume it is there. So all you had to do was use this function index and pass it the number X. And where were you searching? In the numbers list. So all you do is this. You go here, go to your program, you say, so you want that position, okay? So you want that position. It returns a value. So if a method or if a function returns something, you have to catch it. It's like I throw a ball at you. If you don't catch it, it's gone. You lose it. So this is returning something. So you have to catch it. I caught it in this position variable. With the numbers list, you've done numbers.append before. Now you have to do numbers.index. And which number are you looking for? The number. There, job is done. But remember, it is 0 based. So I'll add 1 to it. If the position is 0, it will be 1. Because human beings don't understand 0. It makes no sense. It says at position 0. So I made that note in your exam. I said it is 0 based, but position starts with 1. Even if you didn't do it, I kind of said, oh, let go. That's okay. At least they know to use the index function they've done. Now comes return. What do you need to return from here? You need to return this position from here. So I will say return this position. And the position will be returned. So I'm using the global numbers. So it kind of becomes confusing. Therefore, we say when we write a function, keep it independent. If it was passed as a parameter, I wouldn't have even bothered. I would have called it whatever, and I knew, oh, I don't need anything. But again, to show you, not a good practice. I'm saying it again. I need to return this position. But what number were you searching for? I have to return that too. Now, if you return the position, good, you can catch it here. So let's catch it where you called it. So when you searched for a number, you catch it here. Do I have to call it position again? No, you can call it whatever you like. Please keep in mind, what's inside a function or a method is local there. What's outside belongs to everybody. But there will be no confusion. When the search number is called or invoked, what does it return to you? It returns something to you. You have that something here and you put it here. You can call it pause if you like, really doesn't matter. Though it's not a good name, but you can say pause. There is no connection between that. It has to be called position there and it has to be called position here. Somebody is throwing a ball at you, you just catch the ball. You catch it in your right hand, you catch it in your left hand, how does it matter? Does the person throw it with the right hand or the left hand? How does it matter? You're getting something back, catch it, right? So pause is kind of not a so good, name. And I always like to use names, so I'll say position. Or if you just want to kind of keep in mind, oh, is there a confusion here? We'll call it position of the number, right? Now your message was, now you could say, oh, why didn't I just print it there? This number occurs at this position. Why don't I just print it? Why am I even sending it back? Let me bring something else to your notice now, a good programming practice. A function does a job and says, here is the answer. If you like, you can print it. If you like, you can use it in further calculation. Who knows what you want to do with it? So you ask a question of me, will I print it for you and return it to you? No, not necessarily. I'll just put an announcement on Blackboard. Do whatever, copy the announcement, look at the announcement, save the announcement. You know what I mean? Same thing with functions. Functions do a job and will usually return the value. It says do whatever you like. So maybe I would like to print it. Maybe Ian would like to take that position number and add 2 to it and say, oh, this is the position 2 places away, whatever. Like we don't know what the user would like to do with it. So you just give the answer back to the user. Let the user decide what he wants to do. So now the user decides to print the answer. I could have just maybe done something with position number. Like, I don't know what, but maybe some calculation. Okay. So now the number, but which number, I don't know. What was the search number? I have no clue, because that was asked in that function. It was asked in that function. So what will I do? So this is unique to Python. So till here it's okay. If you were only returning the position number, it was okay. But in Python, you can return more than one values. And this is unique to Python. It's kind of confusing, but maybe it's not, because you're seeing it for the first time, you're learning your first language. You're saying, oh, can I return as many values as I want? Python says, yes, you can return as many as you want. And then your job is, if two things are coming back to you, you should have two variables on the left-hand side. So I'll call it number to search, and I'll put a comma and the position number. Or you can call it number position of number, whatever you like. Really doesn't matter. I'm just trying to tell you there's no relationship what you called there and what you called it here. So this, I have it now. So usually a function or a method returns a single value. But Python has this unique feature. Some people love it, some people hate it. It's confusing for some, whatever it is. But you can return more than one value. So if I didn't need the number to be printed, I would have just said position. But remember, my question said, and output this number and its first occurrence in the list. And you were not expected to write a function at all for this. This was enough. One function was required, at least one. Why am I doing it for you? Because I'm showing you something new. You haven't worked with a function that returns more than one value. You've written a function that returns a value, that return number that you did when you were reading numbers. But here I can return more than one values. And now what will I do? I'll say the, or I'll just say, oh, let me kind of, because we are looking for the first occurrence. Oh, what did I do? The first occurrence of, I think my occurrence spelling is wrong, occurrence. And that's another thing. You have to be careful, guys. You make so many spelling mistakes, and it's as easy as doing a spell check. I think it's a U, occurrence. It's an A. No. Oh, so I was right. Double R. Okay, so I knew something was not right. Double R. Something was not right. Okay, so the first occurrence of this number. Oh God, what did I do? Control C. The first occurrence of this number is at position, and we've already added 1 to it. Remember, we've already added 1. If you didn't want to add it there, you should have added it here. So suppose there you say, no, I don't want to add it here because index just returns the index value. I'll add it somewhere when I need it. You can do it there. It's up to you. This is your function. You're writing this function. So if you didn't add 1 here and just return position from here, when I was printing it here, I would have added 1 here myself, right? Is that position and position of number. And job done. And that's it. So now you know that a function can return more than one values. So a function can return nothing. A function can return a value, which we've been doing in input numbers for the past couple of weeks before the exam. And now here is a function that can return more than one values. A function can have parameters, highly recommended. Make it as independent as possible, or it can use global variables. Right? So I had a number here also. There was a number here also. But when you work in this definition, this number takes over. This is a local number. It has nothing to do with the number outside. This is a local number. You have to understand. So when you go inside a function, there should be no connection with the outside world. So let parameters come in, create your own local variables, send out the answer. And therefore, it's a good idea that you should be passing your list of numbers here. Right? So it's a good idea that you should be passing the numbers here. Again, I'm just showing you different ways, but this is not the best way. If I had passed it, then I was totally, it was an absolutely independent function. This number was local, this position was local, this numbers was local. If I called it numbers here, it was local. Everything was fine. I returned the number, I returned the position. Independent. You should just write independent functions or methods. You don't have to rely on something. Is Ian going to use it? Is Mandeep going to use it? I don't know who's going to use it. Is Joe going to use it? I have no clue. So don't depend on anybody. Take the parameters, do the job, return the value. That's how functions should be written. Okay. Okay. So there is the answer for print. And now it says delete the last number added to the list and print the new list in the notation. Again, you could have written a function for it, but I think I can kind of just write it here. So delete the last number. Nothing, no input has to be taken from the user. And there is again this method. If you look at my code again, there is this pop method, removes and returns an element at the given index. It says at the given index. So you say, oh, how do I give the index? Go to the pop here. And it's very clear. And look, square bracket means optional. If you don't give it, it will automatically remove the last element. It removes and returns the last element. So removes and returns the last element. I didn't tell you to show me what was the last element, so you didn't have to save it anywhere, but we'll use it properly. So we'll go back here again to your code. So what will I do? Delete the last and print the new list. So when I say print the new list, automatically I'll see it is gone, but it is returning something. So we'll call it number deleted with your list, call the pop method. You can say this number was deleted, right? And then you can print. You can print. So if a method or a function returns something, catch it. This was not asked of you, but that's okay. It wasn't asked because I thought, oh, what if you don't know how to catch values, though you've done it. When you pass a number, we've used it. But anyway, now print the list in the new notation. And we know how we do that. We just say numbers. There it is. Done. It's not even an hour since we started. And it's done it. I don't know how many errors we will have, but we've finished it. We finished the job. So we are asking the user again. So this was in the else, this is in the while, and we are good to go. Hopefully, let's save it. Let's now look at our errors, and then if something is wrong, we will know. Right? So let's run it. Invalid syntax right at line 1. Because I forgot my brackets here. Okay, let's try it again. Okay, please input a negative number to stop, enter 0 or any number greater than 0. The colon is missing, which is looking untidy. I can stop right here. I can put a 0. And it says no numbers were provided. The list is empty. That's the message you wanted to print. You can quit by typing quit any other input to continue running the program. I'll say C for continue. Please input a negative number 0 to stop. So let's take some negative numbers. And it can be floating points. Keep in mind, it can be floating points. Really doesn't matter what it is. And any positive number to quit. There is your list. The list of provided numbers, there is your list. Please enter the negative number you want to look up in the list. So I'll go with giving a negative number, right, which is present in the list. Now I'll go minus 3.5. And it should say the first occurrence of minus 3.5 is at position 3, which is at position 3. Now, if they were more than minus 3.5, it would have still worked because index gives you the first occurrence. And that's why I said the first occurrence, so that you said, oh, what if there were 2 in it? What do I do? Okay, the first occurrence of this, minus 4 has been deleted. The new list, what was minus 4, the last element? The new list is whatever. You can quit by typing quit. And I'm kind of going to give you combination of quit in a different form, anything. But it will be changed to all lowercase and the program stops. Done. But you will have errors when you do it for the first time. Like anybody will have. I could have it. I was just lucky not to have it. But when I looked at everything, it looked fine. Now I'm going to run it again for you. Oh, I should have done it. But before I run it, I'm going to show you a few things. So a few things that looked untidy were this. Whenever you ask for input, which I forget, kind of give a blank or something. That way it gives you more space. That was first thing that was looking untidy. No numbers were provided was okay. In the function, please enter the negative number you want to look up in the list. Let's put a blank here, right? What else was looking the first occurrence? So here, again, these ones were new messages in the sense of, oh, they were new in the sense that like the first occurrence of something or whatever. So I'll put a print here just to kind of I can just put dashes. Right, and I'll take this and just so that it kind of makes it a little, stands out a little difference. And there is a print here, and I'll put a print. Oh, no, wait. Hopefully, let's try it again. Okay, input a negative number. Now it looks a little neater. So let's go minus 2, minus 4, minus 2 again. I'll just show you that it gives the first occurrence, and that's all that was asked. And you can give any big numbers. I mean, I'm just being lazy, right? And then let's give a 0 to stop. It said 0 or anything greater than 0 will work. Anything will work. Even 4 will work. So there is my list. Please enter the negative number you want to look up in the list. So let's look up for minus 2 because there are 2 of them. The first occurrence of minus 2 is at position 0. Minus 345 has been deleted and the new list is this. You can quit by typing quit, any other to continue. Oops, forgot to do this one. C to continue. Right? I'm going to, now a better way would have been if you wanted to work with the same list. We could do that too. Suppose I want to search for another number. I could have added that. That was another, that's another while loop inside my program. Because if I want to work with the same list, why will I give the same list again? It's kind of tough to do that. And it's useless. And I could have changed that. But again, I didn't ask for it because I thought, you know what, the more I ask, the more they'll have to code. But this was doable in 3 hours, what I've given. But if I wanted to work with the same list, in that question of confirm, I could have said, if you want to work with the same list, type this, else type quit. So if you wanted to work with the same list, I would have just put that in a loop. I just needed another while loop if you want to work with the same numbers. That was all that was required. Okay, so let's try it once more. Minus 2, minus 4, minus 5, and a 0. Because I want to show you something. If I want to look up for a number in the list that does not exist, and I say 4, I have a value error. And that's what it was saying, that you will have it returns a value error. You will say, oh God, what do I do now? Therefore, I kept it simple. I didn't even ask you to do that. But today we will learn how to take care of these errors. So if something like this occurs, You should tell the user, oh, it's not in your list. That would have been a good one. It's not in your list, because you can search for something that is not in the list. And we will learn how to do that. I can show it to you right now in this program so that you know what to do, but I'll also show you in another. So that works and the program stops, right? So we've completed it. That's it. That's all that needed to be done. Now, just because your index function is different or not different, is returning an error, I'll show you how you can handle it if you're interested, which you have to learn anyway, and which you will, because we have 10 minutes before I'm giving you a break. I can do that. You can do this. What is available in Python is a way to handle exceptions or errors, which means this. If a function or a method throws an exception, and you'll say, how will I know it throws an exception? When you go to the documentation, it will tell you. See, here it says it will throw a value error. Here, nowhere else am I seeing. But suppose you try to divide by 0. It will throw an exception. Can you divide by 0? Have you tried dividing by 0 ever? Let's open the shell. My shell is gone because I closed it. No, not you. Anyway, if I open a shell, there should be a way to open a shell from here. New file, open module. Strange, right? The only way is to kind of run it. Okay, anyway, let's give 0 and quit. And let's give quit and quit. If you try to divide a number by 0, see what happens. You get a 0 division error. Now, this doesn't look neat. Do you want to write programs and give it to users and they see things like this? Of course not, right? So your job as a programmer is to handle these exceptions or errors, as they are called, right? Now, how to handle them? There is a way. Of course, you can use an if, but now if will only do a job once. What you can use an if. You can say, if this is not the case, then do this. That's one way of doing it. There's nothing wrong in it. But I'll just show you something new today. And that something new is this. I'm going to use a try. I'm going to try to do something. And this is what I'm trying to do. But it may happen that I can't do it. So remember what was the error it said? Index was throwing which error? It was throwing a value error. You can catch as many errors as you want of different types. You may not know all their names, so you can only write a simple except, which will catch errors. And in this case, I can print a message right here. But I mean, this is not going to work a lot, because this printing here, I should return something like 0 or doesn't occur or whatever. So you can say, what should you return in this case? We will return the number that was being searched, and we will return a -1 to say, oh, it couldn't be found. Or you can return a 0 also. You know what I mean? Because 0 is not a valid one. Or here you can say print an error occurred. This is, now you'll say, what error? I don't know, because we are not looking for some kind of error. Maybe you are passing, maybe the network connection was lost. You're doing something and the network connection was lost. Maybe your disk is full. Maybe there is an error in the operating system. So those errors that your program is not related to. Value error is related to my program, but otherwise something may happen. My program may crash, or my operating system. Then I just put an empty except at the end. So if something else occurs on which the programmer has no control, at least this message will come on the screen. And it will save you to do something. So see what I've done. I've tried to do this. If it works, good. Everything will behave itself. But if I try to look for a number that is not in the list, it will return a number and a -1. Right? That's what it returns. So what is my job? If it returns a -1, before you print it, here, there is where you print it. Before you print it, you can put an if here. You can say if, oops. You can say if the position of the number is equal to -1. That's what I returned, right? You can say this number, you can say, what can you say? You can say this number does not exist in the list. There. Else print the first, else print the first occurrence. Else print the first occurrence. There, I've improved my code. It wasn't asked of you, but you've learned something new. You've learned the try except, which I'll repeat after the break. Right? So try except allows you to handle errors in a more professional manner than seeing that red remarks. I showed you I got a value error when I was trying to look for 4 and it was not in the list. Now see, it will become prettier. In the sense, when I say prettier, I mean logically also prettier. Okay, let's try it. Let's do an F5. Let's give your numbers: -1, -2, -3, -4, and a 0. Okay, it says, what is the number you want to search for? Let me try to search for 4 or 1 or whatever is not in the list. 0 is also not in the list. Let me try to search for 1. See, it says 1.0 does not exist in the list. Why is it saying 1.0? Because I'm working with floating numbers. When I took the number, the input, I took it as 1, but I converted into a float. So it will print it as a floating. And that's fine. -4 has been deleted. The new list is, no, I want to quit. There it is. Becomes prettier because you took care of it. Now let the user do whatever. Your program will not break. Before it was breaking. See, I had a break here. But now I have a proper message here. 1 does not, spelling of not is wrong, does not exist in the list. So the spelling of not is wrong. Where are you? There you are. And there you are. And I can improve it more. As I said, I can work with the same list if I like. Why not? Because you have a list, I may find the average of it, I may find what is the biggest number in it, I may find what is the smallest number, I may do this, I may search for a number, I may search for another number. I can do anything with the list. So instead of asking the list again, all you have to do is, in this, where you are reading it, while this number is not equal to 0, when you start this loop, you can put a while loop here. And you can ask the user, while, again, you will ask, you will take another variable like continue or something or whatever, another flag, and you will say, do you want to work with the same list? The user says yes, it will work with the same list. Right? So you can do it. It can be done. It's not as if it cannot be done. I just chose not to ask it of you. 2 loops were more than enough for me. The outer loop, the program runs forever, which we had done in class, and the while loop to read the numbers. That's it. We finished it in 1 hour record time. Made it beautiful and everything. Added more stuff than was required. And that is what was expected of you. This is more than what was expected of you. Right? So programming is definitely difficult. It's not easy. It's not something that you can get in a day, but it needs a lot of practice. And if you want to be a professional and work in this field, you will come across scripts written in Python, even though you are a CSTN student. Networkers work with scripting languages all the time. They work, and Python is something that is on the go. Therefore, it has been included in the course. It's out there. It's being used very commonly now. So unless you understand it, how will you work in this field if you want to work in this field? Right? So for students who are interested, please practice, practice, practice. How can I practice? Oh, she only does one example in class. That's all I can do. Right? There are thousands and thousands of online tutorials. Do them. You have a doubt, come and ask me. I'll clarify it for you. I have 3 office hours. I haven't seen a single person in my 7 weeks before reading break. Nobody. So it's up to you, right? I'm ready to help. There is tutoring available. I'll put that link on Blackboard if you like. You can go to that link and couple of students are taking tutoring. It's not too late. It's never too late. Oh, ma'am, I don't want to fail this course. But I can't help you. It's you. You have to do the work. I'll give you whatever you do. You know what I mean? Like if you don't give me anything, where will I give you marks? That's all I can do. And I can try my best to teach you what I know. Trying to restrict myself to introductory level. Okay, we'll take a break here now. Take a 20-minute break. And then we will do dictionaries today. Okay, I'll put this on Blackboard for you. You're on midterm on Blackboard for you.
Well, I didn't want to, it just automatically started doing it.
You have RES from the meter max.
Do you?
That might be why. Maybe you posted wrong.
Oh, yeah.
That's like
I'm so sorry.
it's somebody else, right?
I believe I only.
Definitely it's not you.
I can
So I know in front of their.
Does it say
Yeah.
your name and something, somebody else's name also?
So I
Let
looked
me
up
see.
on their
Yeah.
Yeah, I already moved it to like other. So that's like the new.
Submitted file is okay.
So yeah, I had already switched it to like the less terrible. Automatic. They have a compact, which I kind of like actually.
Is that the compact?
Yeah, so less compact as you get. Because I think what made Reddit good for me.
Okay, I'll look at it for
Covers
a
so
bit,
much material.
but it's not for
But I think it's a
anything.
little too much.
The other demands are
Like the middle of the road.
okay.
You know, like the
If I
best.
visit something for you, it has to be, there should have been something on my mind.
Right, that's my preference over everything else. Yeah, when as soon as my account got switched over, I was just like, oh no, we took a good thing and it ruined it. A long time ago, there's a website called Dig. I was on that website.
Yeah, that's clearly where it is.
That was part of the migration. Yeah. Because they have forms. Because it actually turned it into a format. Because like Dig originally looked a lot like this. And then they switched over to what looks like Reddit community. And then everybody failed. So yeah, I don't know why they keep doing it.
It's the one that people keep talking about trying to get people. This
Yeah, see, look at Dig now.
that looks like Yahoo News website or something.
And it was a little different before. Before it was a little bit more like yeah, we did the Facebook. Facebook. They tried to make it more social. They tried to make it like testing.
Yeah, that's
It has that thing.
that other one too. Like,
Oh, see, now you know it's poison. I'm gonna be ready for this. So I'm like,
look at how much of like your screen that like doesn't even use.
and look at this. This clearly looks like an ad.
Yeah.
It's in social media.
I don't. Maybe it'll be another great migration.
Yeah, but to what?
There was some site that people talked about.
Yeah, that's how it's
like vote or something.
That's how it starts. That's how it starts.
People can talk about it.
Yeah.
That's not.
Yeah.
Also, I guess it's been a few years since they ditched the front page of the internet or anything.
Yeah.
'Cause that was like the thing for a while. just noticed it says home. Why does it say home?
Well, I mean, look at this. Where are my subreddits?
Like, I don't even know if that's a thing in my extension.
It's not.
Oh, it's not. Okay.
It's not.
Why would they do that? I guess it's like,
Okay, this is right. Yeah, see, I have to go for it. There's a drop down menu bar when you click on my subreddits. But the bar I often use to that, it's just like click, right? Because even once again, if I go back to old Reddit, it's just right there. Just be like, yeah, let's get out of here, put a camera and stuff.
it's not that that's okay. It's the same place.
Yeah, so I don't know. But I do know the noise is not pleased. Not pleased.
I don't like those.
I wonder how many students we're gonna have next semester. Like after the COP, we come back, it's not. It's like the number of people per class keeps dropping. And there's cheating going on in all classes.
Is it number of people
Like someone's
actually
gonna get
dropping?
caught in that. People have got to be thinking.
Like, I don't understand, like it, and it's such a waste of time and efforts. And
Yeah, I don't know. It's just so weird because like it was happening last semester. Like any assignment that some people could cheat on, they would. But they're blatant. They're just copy, like complete copies. Like,
here
oh,
are
the
complete
next,
copies, and see, I have to mark 70 assignments, and if with every 70 assignment I have to look up, oh, this is not their work. You have midterm, you have a 0, and in the assignment you have perfect. Something is definitely wrong.
I mean, like with the JIGS class, like one of the assignments, like for our Linux class, it was straight copies, and it was easy for them to figure it out because they're complete copies. The only thing that was changed was the names, one after the other, and it was for scripting.
Like, I don't
For
understand.
scripting, so like anytime that you have any sort of uniqueness you can put in, you wouldn't expect identical everything. Right.
And imagine, here I am, I have so much to do, and I'm trying to put my energy and my time into useless work.
Yeah, you want to be putting energy into something productive.
Exactly. I mean, I would like to learn something new and teach it to you, or give you some interesting assignments. You know what I mean? Like, and here I am, like the whole reading week, this is what I was doing.
I guess I prefer take-home programs. Because that way you can sit back at your house, grab a beer, start working away
Yeah,
on it.
and that's what I thought, that I'll
afternoon.
give a bigger assignment, and that was my aim. And then when I started marking this, I thought, oh my God, like, what's the sense then?
Yeah.
Then all I'm doing is this.
I know when I was at Dow, the way they made it easier to tell when people are doing that, it's like they had like a custom built thing for each class that you basically like, if for like a coding class, you literally just input the code and it would match to like
Yeah.
wherever it came from.
Yeah.
And same for like essay based classes and stuff, it's the same thing. I don't use there. Very simple. I remember for Dow engineering specifically, it was the first offense was like 0 on the individual thing. Second offense was I think it was literally only 2 offenses. Second offense was really the program. Something crazy like that.
I mean, when I think about it, when I was in high school, that was just when Turnitin was first making its appearance.
Yeah.
So basically, Turnitin is a program where as you write essays, the teachers would upload it and they would compare it against the database.
Yeah.
So you can get-
Okay, that's
Right.
probably what I'm.
So this was like, longer than 12 years ago. I don't want to talk about
Like,
it.
why would you do it is the biggest thing. You know what I mean? Like, why should teachers be doing these things of looking for whether you copied it. Like, do your work, get going.
Yeah. So,
It was like that. A lot of things that you did, you had to go with.
well, yeah, it was a serious deal. Like I said, even in high school, if you got caught a couple of times, like you basically kissed your opportunity of college or university goodbye.
Exactly. And that's
Like
exactly.
as soon as you get listed as academically dishonest, like that's it. It's like you cannot be trusted. You're not going to college or university. So like the stakes were high. I don't know of a few people who got caught then. Like you got a few people who get caught the first time, realize that because they thought they could maybe just, wouldn't get caught for whatever
And
reason.
some students do it and then they come to your office and they deny it.
They deny.
Like you're showing them things and they deny it, and they come up with all kind of crap and
Yeah,
act
it's,
smart
it's
and
bold.
like. So with second assignment, I'm not even bothering. I'll just fill up the forms and submit it. Like I'm not even saying you did it. I know you did it. Here is where you copied it from. Do it.
Yeah, I mean, if you follow it to a T, like you're just being very kind. That's what you're doing.
Like we have to just kind of call them and then listen to their story, but like.
Yeah, see, at Dow, like they didn't, the professors themselves didn't even have to handle it. If there was any, as soon as something came up, they'd literally just get passed off to it.
Exactly, that's what should have happened. Like we are wasting our time. Like I'm here. Yesterday I was here 1 hour wasted. I know somebody's going to come today, and that's what I'm doing instead of doing something productive. And I have to make up an assignment for you guys. Like, and I want to make up a good assignment where I'm asking you everything that I've taught, and I'll give you a week for it so that you can put your mind around it and make a perfect thing for it. But I'm not getting time. To make an assignment, I need at least a couple of hours, 3 hours. I need it.
Yep, that's how it is. I mean, if you have a bigger assignment, maybe it's easier to find people when they cheat because they have to copy more.
I don't. I've given up. Like,
I saw that email about it being on their site or whatever.
Well,
You can look at that site when I tried to
Yeah,
write
the
it.
tutorial site apparently.
I didn't even look at that. I just looked at the
I looked at it
class.
after.
I looked at the class notes or whatever. And that's all I did.
I looked at it after because I got all paranoid. I'm like, oh my goodness, what if it looks like mine? And I go there and then that's not what I want. So I fell okay again. And also though, a lot of the ones online, because after I looked at it, they use a lot of breaks and continues. In there.
yeah, I mean, I should have said no breaks, and then there would have been less copying in that game because.
Yeah, but you didn't really teach us how to use breaks and continues, so somebody's using those things and pulling it from someplace else.
Definitely, the easiest thing. Oh well.
I think the only thing I've done outside of class notes was like one little like. I think it was like one little tiny thing that I didn't know how to do at the beginning of this. I think it was the assignment. Yeah, I guess.
At the very beginning, you just like name. Oh no.
Yeah, I think it was
Who
something
am
like
I?
that. Like, no, it wasn't name. It was literally like one little thing.
What
that
day
I was
is it
like,
today? Yeah.
I don't know how to do this.
Because I've reached it numerous times. So I'm like, what's the
Literally
date?
everything else I just went off of like the classroom.
Yeah. Don't know.
Oh, I have to remind you guys of something.
Is it something good?
No, there was a survey, right? I chose your class. I should have. I need it. That doesn't matter. I chose your class to survey. Once a year, you get students to survey you to
Oh,
get feedback.
oh yeah, I've been ignoring
That's not good. So I would like you to send me feedback, good or bad, really doesn't matter. And of course, people are not happy because they're failing the course and whatever. And I really don't care. But I just chose your class out of the blue. I just had to choose a section, and I've just got a note saying that the response is only
29%.
yep, not even half. 10 out of 35 have responded.
Yeah, I got 4 of them. So it's like,
I know it's work, but sometimes it helps, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes people come up with good suggestions, which is
so
good,
right there.
but it's more of a routine than anything else.
I don't even remember getting emails.
I got an email for it because it said that I had 4 to do, and I just decided not to do them because there was 4 of them.
Oh God, 4 of them.
Yeah, I've got one for the computer virtualization, Linux
Yeah,
network administration.
I know. Yeah, yeah.
Python,
Who has
Windows
time to
Server
do all this,
administration.
right?
I'm just like, oh, okay.
And I don't blame you. First, they used to do it in class. It was a class thing,
Yeah.
which wasted a little time, but at least the students were bound to do it. You know what I mean? They were forced because it was in a classroom. And now they've changed it to online for a few years.
Yeah.
So you get it, you don't get it. Like, and I've stopped, as I said, I try to look for comments rather than anything else to see if there is something that will help me improve my, something
The
that,
only thing that I would want is more projects at home. That's pretty much it.
yeah, more homework, right?
Yeah, I'd rather have more stuff at home. I'd rather have my lecture be my lecture, and then I can apply it at home.
Yeah, but see that all those things are being done to avoid plagiarism.
Yeah, plagiarism. But then that's because I think that the time that you learn the most is the time a few hours after the lecture when you go to apply it at home because you're in a comfortable environment. There's no time
Exactly,
constraint.
yeah.
You can just
Yeah.
work out. Because when I think about times I learned
But
the
some
most,
students won't do it the day. They'll do it the day when it is due. So that doesn't
yeah,
even
and
help.
then
You
that
know what I
ruins
mean?
it for them. But that's
Yeah.
just a
Planning process. Yeah.
and a learning process.
And it's good for me also because I don't have to make up small assignments and mark them every week. You know what I mean? I can only make up 4 good ones, big ones, and that's it. I mark 4 times instead of 8 times a semester.
Yeah, so I'd rather have less but bigger.
Bigger, yeah.
And then ones that you just do it.
Yeah, that's what I've made up my mind. Now I've made up my mind. I don't care if people are plagiarizing and that's how they want to be. That's their life, right?
Yeah, because it's not going to plagiarize anything.
Exactly. So that's their life. If they have to be dishonest, they have to. So starting next semester, no in-class assignments. I don't want you here if you don't want to learn, and that's it. That's exactly what I'm thinking for now. Also, I'm going to make a big assignment.
Yeah, 'cause that's just my personal preference. Well, everybody's different.
Yeah, everybody is different.
But
But that's what I do, small in-class assignments so that students are doing it and right away they apply it so they're quick to learn. You know what I mean? They did it, they applied. So they've kind of doubled it up.
Yeah.
And then I can keep my eye on it. And they can ask me questions also. Will this work or why am I stuck? So that was the whole issue. But it was a lot of work for me. But I kept doing it for a couple of years, but now I'm done.
Yeah, because I mean, like if you have, let's say you have an assignment a month, right? That's 4 assignments.
Yeah.
And then so you assign it, then you got 3 weeks to complete it or whatever. So you have a couple of in classes that you can discuss.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Oh well. Whatever it is now.
Joel, this is your fault.
Yeah. Like I've tried my best, but
I'm glad you agree.
I'm not sure why, but.
I think the time that I learned the most about anything is when I'm at home and something's broken. That's when it seems to matter the most. It bothers me. It bothers me. Yeah, it was due on the 30th. For assignment 2. It was definitely due on Saturday. Because that's when he assigned it. Were you not in class that day? Let's see. Assignments. Due June 30th. Assignment will not be accepted for labs after July 7th.
No idea. Why would it?
Well, he said it like in class.
Just assumed it would be due like class day, like assignments.
So what did we learn? Never assume. And why? Because it makes an ass of you and me.
Because that's you.
Well, normally that's
Literally just
like
makes an absolute mean.
This is because when you spell it out, normally when you have an assumed problem, it's between two people discussing it. But now it's memorable. Did you get your first assignment, Mark?
Yeah, you literally just said this.
Yeah, that's what I got too. Now mine feels less special.
You said that forever.
Well, maybe it's bipolar. It's one way or the other. It's like excellent or terrible. One or the other. Have you applied any jobs yet? No. You're running out of time. Running out of time. But there's jobs on Photo right now. Calling out. Let's find out. Posting. Look, one new posting since last login. Yes. It's in Vaughn. That's unfortunate. It's doable. You know what? I'll apply to this job. The plan group. That's a doable. It's only an IT help desk position, but you know that's pretty much all you can offer on the first year co-op.
Okay, let's start our next job.
All right.
Okay, so what we are going to learn now is basically dictionaries, right? And I'll explain what a dictionary is and so on and so forth, but we'll work on it and we'll go ahead and do more of that except tries, which now I want you to understand because you're going to use it in your next assignment. I'm going to introduce you to it and then do more stuff, okay? And let's see how it is different from list. That's the first thing to understand. So list is a collection, right? It's in Python, it is a collection of various data types also. You could have all ints, all floats, ints, floats, strings, anything combined together. But that's what it is. It is a collection. And that's usually not always true in all languages. But because we are learning Python, we'll stick to Python and it's just a collection. And there is an ordering in the list. You have the first element, the second element, the third element, the fourth element, and so on. And you access each element with an index value, which starts from 0, goes on till length -1, and you can also access it from the right, -1, -2, and so on. Again, just a Python feature. But that's what you do with the list. Works good enough. You work with group of data all the time, and that works enough. But on the other hand, there is also this concept of if I could create a collection that were pairs, like student name, marks, person's name, phone number. So there is a link, right? So instead of just storing values, you could create two lists, one with names and one with marks, and then say, well, the first student and the first mark match, the second student and the second mark match. Can be done. So you can create two lists which are related to each other and work with it, and that will be fine. But there is a better data structure that is available, and that better data structure is called a dictionary. So what happens in a dictionary, you save, it is again a collection, but you save pairs of values. So these pairs of values are called key value pairs, right? So for example, name of the student, marks of the student. And these pairs can be any type, string or data or float or int or whatever, Boolean, whatever. The combination can be anything. Then for the second student, his or her marks. Third student, his or her marks, and so on. And there is no ordering here because you access data in this dictionary by the key value. I want to look up marks for Ian. I want to look up marks for Hayden. I want to look up marks for Mandeep. You see what I mean? So now you're not talking positions and you're not talking off. you're not bound by indices. You are now bound by keys, which are more human, natural. So it's natural. It's easier for us to say, oh, who's teaching you, or what course is Anju teaching you? It's easy to ask that question, rather than if it was on a list and I say course that Anju is teaching is at position 1, right? So that's the whole idea of a dictionary. So dictionary is a collection. The collection is, the nature of the collection is that it is a collection of key value pairs. Oh, before I forget, just because I was mentioning this, you must have got an email, and I think you get more emails. I've heard Ian saying, oh, you got 4. Anyway, he got 4. The college has this, what should I say, rule that every teacher is evaluated once a year, right? So, I mean, nothing personal. I just chose your section to evaluate my teaching this semester. I mean, I teach 5 different sections, could have chosen anybody, but I don't know. Maybe the day they asked, it was a Wednesday and I just marked yours. So there's no personal thing here, and it is online. So you will be getting these online, you will be getting emails, oh, please fill up the survey for teacher A, teacher B, teacher C, and so on. So you may have a lot to do. If you have the time, and if you have something to say in terms of, oh, this can be done and this will improve it, or I like this, or I don't like this, or there are some questions, and then you can give your feedback in writing also. If you can do that, that would be great. It's open till July something, if I'm not mistaken, but I think it finishes quite soon, July 8th or something. I'm not very sure of the date. 10 people have responded out of the class of 35 for me, which is not a good number at all. But as I said, I can force you to do it. But if you would like to say something, and it's all anonymous. I mean, I don't know who's saying what. So you can say whatever, you know what I mean? But it would be good to know what's working for you and what is not working for you, or what would you like. Like Ian was mentioning, he would like to have bigger assignments, take-home assignments. Some people like in-class assignments. So it's something that helps the teacher to kind of, get an idea. And some students just don't bother and they'll come up with all kind of crap and bitching, which is okay, right? Which is also fine. Everybody has their own opinion, but it would be good if you could devote maybe 5 or 10 minutes, doesn't take more than that, to fill up that survey. And if not, that, of course, as I can say anything, right? Okay, just because I got an email today too, like you're getting emails, I'm getting emails to also saying, oh, this is what it is updated. So it started with 1, 2, and now it is at 10. So people are answering. Either way, maybe they are happy, maybe they are very, very, angry because of their midterm marks. Who knows? Like, I don't know, you know what I mean? But I'll get the feedback. And when I get the feedback, if there is anything that's useful, I'll try to incorporate it in whatever is left in the semester or for my future, whatever, right? So it's good to hear good things.